Let's start at the beginning. You can answer on Georgie's behalf now, you see.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I
what
will.
made what made you start Mums Who Build?
I have a fierce independent streak because I grew up, my parents got divorced when I was 6, and it was a very emotional divorce. So I saw firsthand what motherhood, or what I believed motherhood did to your sense of financial security, because my dad kept going up and he lives a very comfortable life, and that's wonderful, and then my mum has always had to make the numbers work, not because she's bad with money, but because she's always been fearful of losing it, kind of thing. She had 8 years out to raise me and my brother, and then she needed to go back to work full time when my parents separated. So I grew up, I internalized the belief that motherhood meant your relationship broke down, so you have to look after your money. Like, that was my MO.
Yeah.
But so I went into finance and became an accountant because I love finance, and then I realized that I didn't love finance whatsoever. It made me really unhappy, but it did make me very confident with money, which is a good thing. So I love it and I hated it at the same time. But then my son was born in 2022, and I at that point was quite unhappy because I'd always wanted to leave finance, and I'd been moving away from the finance role, but I needed to jump. And so when I was pregnant, I was working as a head of finance, supply chain, people operations in a startup, and it was wonderful, but I still had this finance role attached to me. And then I thought, I actually want a career change. But when you have a child and you want flexible work and you want a career change, there aren't many options for you. So I went down the lonely path of setting up my own business. And when I did that, I realized there were lots of other people doing that because they wanted to make it work around their family. But obviously, when you leave the security of having a job, you inherit a lot of other risk if you go and start a business. And you also leave a team and you have no team. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I miss people. I have skills, yes, but I also want other people around me to learn from and, be a team with them, if you know what I mean. So tried to set up like a skills sharing, swapping thing for mums in the area, and got nowhere with it. And then I also kept hearing stories about how lots of women were either passed over for promotion because of maternity leave, or they were made redundant in a lot of instances, which is rubbish. And their confidence was being knocked. And then you hear the statistics, which is 74,000 mothers every year are pushed out of the workforce because of this lack of flexibility. So what I experienced when my world evaporated, I realized everybody else, or lots of people, were experiencing when they became a mum. And all of it was hitting our money, like everything. Our money was being hit completely, because that is then what contributes to what they call the wealth gap. So the wealth gap is, your remuneration, your pension, your investments. That mean at retirement, a woman retires with 70p for every pound that a man has, because you have this gap, and then you lose all of the compounding and the increases that you would get if you continued on the same trajectory. So when I met Georgie and I heard her story, so Georgie made the choice to leave work because it could not work for her in the situation she was in. So that choice was forced. When she was pregnant with her first son, she found out in utero that he had a rare genetic condition, and then he was later diagnosed with severe autism. And that just meant that her, thriving, loved PR career that she was doing in Burberry, it had to stop because the two worlds couldn't fit. As Freddie grew, she needed to understand what care he needed, but also he can't go to after school clubs because, and so her, work day is completely different. She doesn't have a work day. She has a work few hours if she can, because if Freddie's at school. So she'd stopped working to learn to be in the Sen world. And then also lost that part of her. So she'd lost her income, lost her identity. She loved her career as well. And so when I met her, I was like, you've got a lot of skills that I do not have, because PR marketing, that is a beast to me, but I've got all of these other skills. Why don't we do this together and create this into a network, into something where we can all lean on one another? And it's grown arms and legs. And now we have, yeah, this thriving community of women building businesses or building careers and wanting to, look after their well-being, which is impacted by their money. So making sure money is high on the priority list for everybody, because it influences everywhere and it is influenced by everywhere. So yeah, we're now building this app, which is wild to say, and yeah, a bigger community and just lots and lots of resources and lots of connections that actually help women move forward on whatever journey they're on with their work and money and motherhood and well-being through the whole thing. Yeah.